first day of each year is received with jubilation and excitement. For many, it is another chance to right the wrongs of the past and look forward to better days. But what should Nigerians be celebrating at this time?
Very good question. Is it the insurgency in the northeast that has persisted for years and claimed the lives of thousands and rendered millions homeless? Or a looming threat of an economic shutdown by organized labor? Or the inactivity of students forced to stay home because of an ongoing strike by ASU? Also, we're already counting down to the general election, beginning with the presidential election, which is 46 days away. How prepared are we to ensure that the election will be free, fair, and credible, devoid of violence and bloodletting?
All right, now these are the issues we'll be talking about in the new year. Stay with us now.
All right, thanks for staying with us on TVC Breakfast, and we must emphasize it's the first one in the year 2019, this first day of January. Our correspondent Ibrahim Bello is joining us live from Zamfara to tell us the mood in the state. Of course, the activities of bandits is a threat to residents, and how, of course, would like to know exactly how he would describe the mood there, especially on this first day of the year. Ibrahim Bello, good morning to you and a happy new year.
Yeah, good morning. Ngozi, compliment of the season.
Yes,
good morning,
compliments
Ibrahim.
of the season. Now, are you able to report that the people in Zamfara are in, a jolly mood, considering the events in the last few days or weeks, if you like?
Yeah, people are happy because God has made their life what they are, and some of them are healthy. But the truth of the matter is that the 2018 is the year of devastation in the state. It was characterized by so many things: the activities of armed banditry, cattle rustlers, kidnapping, and other criminal activities, which seriously affect so many communities. Like I told you, many communities were affected by this issue of insecurity in the state, which forced some of them to even move to other parts of the state as the IDPs. And also, traveling in Zamfara state is becoming a difficult situation because you cannot move from one place to place because of the activities of the armed bandits. Markets, so many markets were closed down because of the bandit. People can no longer move, and in rural communities, people cannot live with their two eyes closed, all on the issue of this insecurity. But still, people are happy because God has shown them they are still alive in 2019, and they are healthy, but they have a lot of fear because right now we have so many influx of internally displaced persons across the state. So many houses were destroyed, farm produce were destroyed, as well as people have the fear that they cannot move from one place to place within the state.
All right, Ibrahim, let me stay with you. The military and security agencies have been deployed to parts of Zamfara as a way of, preventing the further escalation of the activities of bandits. How are the people reacting? How are they feeling? Do they feel happier now, or they still live in fear of the unknown, considering how the bandits have attacked villages and farmlands and all of that?
Yeah, people are still in fear because this is not the first time there was a deployment of more troops in Zamfara State. And with all the assurances by the federal and the state government, but nothing has changed. So people are still in that fear, but what they are expecting maybe in this 2019, the situation will probably change because the attack is still ongoing. But the recent, in few days, the military has done something wonderful because they launched a serious attack on the bandits around Zulme exit. They killed many bandits from the report we are receiving. But likewise, the bandits also kill about 8 soldiers. So the people are still in fear because they are not satisfied with the measures being taken by both the security agencies and the government in tackling the security challenges in the state.
Ibrahim Bello, that's a bit unsettling. We'll have to leave it there for now. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on, of course, the first day of the year, trying to gauge the mood of the people in Zamfara State who have been victims of banditry and all,
over the past months.
In the past months. And according to Ibrahim there, all efforts by the state government and, in fact, the federal government seem not to be yielding any fruit in terms of, reassuring the people of their safety.
The state governor has said that he wouldn't have any problem with the issue of an emergency rule.
Yes.
It tells you how
things
challenging
really
this situation.
Yes. And even the ROI youths have just, declared their support for, the call for a state of emergency. Whether the people of Zamfara would welcome that is another matter. Well, TVC Breakfast spoke to some Nigerians on their expectations from government for the new year. We also asked them how much of their 2018 target they were able to achieve. And that's a question I'm going to be asking you.
Happy New Year, people. Welcome to 2019, the year we also look forward to anxiously. I am Abosede Omowi, and I'm on the streets of Lagos to find out from people what their expectations are from government this year. Come along with me.
I want to see an area where the government will work on the Naira. The Naira is too weak against the foreign currency. That's why it seems there's hardship in Nigeria.
Our government should declare holiness. You should declare that our nation, Nigeria, should be changed, should be transformed.
The only thing I want the government to do for the whole Nigeria, you understand, job. I just need job. Most of our graduates after school, no job. How you take cope now? How can we cope with that kind of thing in the country? Now guys are doing rough things.
Life is very important, so we're expecting the government to put more, as regards security, to protect lives and properties, not just here in Lagos but other places too.
When they look at the poor people, especially widows, that's orphanage, those who don't have father and mother, those who don't have help.
2018 is over. 2019 is a very crucial year in the history of this country, so we are looking forward to a better representation, a better life. The hardship is too much.
The masses need adequate security, infrastructure, and to put more fund to education. And our government should never stop fighting corruption, because if we don't fight corruption, corruption will hit back on us.
What I expect from the government is just to give us a peaceful election. We don't want all this rigging that election won't count. We want them to give us a very peaceful election 2019. We want Nigeria to witness peace.
Let the present government make sure he provide enough security during the election time for the safety of the Nigerians.
It's not so much about election. The election and the outcome of the election should impact in the life of Nigerians. So I want to see a better 2019.
Nigeria is a well-blessed country, so government should harness its resources to the extent that more revenues will come in the area of solid minerals.
There's going to be a lot of changes in 2019, and my expectation for 2019 is the best I will ever wish Nigeria. I just hope that people should just keep calm. It's going to be better.
Nigerians have said it all, from security to education to health, the economy and the war against corruption. They want government to do something, take very drastic steps in 2019 to ensure this is the year they have all looked forward to. Abosede Omowi, TVC News, Lagos.
All right, it's quite interesting what Nigerians are saying. Hear them speak from the streets and they bear their minds, saying everything they want, how they want it, and it's really interesting. One would say they're not asking for too much. All right, we have in the studio a legal icon, a lawyer, GT Ogunye, with us to analyze these issues and help us understand and decipher how these issues will, impact on how people feel and public opinion and perception going into the new year. Yes. Good morning. It's nice to have you in the studio.
And
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
I wonder how optimistic you are about 2019, considering where we have come from in 2018.
One has to strive to be optimistic, because without that optimism, without hope, we are dead, really.
Yeah.
But with optimism, one can then look into the future and then believe that things will get better.
You heard Nigerians there, what they said, the different things they said, from the value of the naira to issues of jobs, security, poverty, infrastructure, corruption, diversifying of the economy and all of that. Do you think they're asking for too much?
No. All these are valid and legitimate concerns. These are basic things. Without employment, how is a person going to survive? If you don't have jobs and you trained to have jobs, how are you going to make ends meet? How are you not going to be a problem to society? So they're not asking for too much. A country that cannot deal with the problem of unemployment, not to talk of underemployment, is going to have problems on its hand. And now, while you are doing your newspaper review, you're talking about insurgency or war now, because it's not an insurgency in the Northeast, and then in Zamfara specifically, the banditry that we've had in that part of the country. The question is, these bandits, who are they? Are they being invaded by foreigners or they are Nigerians? If they are Nigerians, so what's their work? What are they doing? So basically, at the very base, we're having a socio-economic crisis. Yeah. So it's not just about banditry. Some people just woke up one day and then felt that they needed to get guns to be levying war against their society.
To what end?
So what are the fundamentals? I mean, you just talked about, whether, just raise a question as to whether these bandits or these, killers, or, however you want to describe them, whether they are really Nigerians or not. But in the papers this morning, there's, of course, the federal government actually is reported to, be insisting that there will be a mandatory use of NIN, that's the National Identity Number, that's to begin today, January 1. Of course, this hopefully will provide some kind of database, for Nigerians, so that we know exactly who Nigerians are, who the foreigners are, and where they are, and things like that. But what is the basis of your optimism? You say that you're optimistic without hope. It's a demise, of expectations that is to be expected.
Yeah.
What's the basis of your, your
First,
optimism
on one level,
for 2019?
on one level, on January 1, in a manner of speaking, I can't come on an international television and be wishing Nigerian bad luck. So that's why I said I'm optimistic. Okay. I should be optimistic about the prospects for development, for survival for my country. But that said, my optimism is based on my understanding of the position of Nigeria on many things now. I think that Nigerians are very knowledgeable about their affairs, unlike in the distant past. That's my view. on the social media, elsewhere, newspaper stands, everywhere, you see Nigerians discussing government, government, government. They're personal failures, but you see, a lot of Nigerians know that government can do a lot in their lives if things are properly done. And so with that consciousness, with that knowledge, change can be brought about. And I'm not just talking about change that is mouthed by politicians and all. I'm just talking about very serious fundamental changes in the life of Nigerians. So we're having a national conversation, a perennial discussion of Nigerian problems by Nigerians. And so that gives me optimism because a problem known is half solved.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're not discussing about your problem, you are not even aware
that
you have problems.
Then it's more challenging.
So
but the issue there is that in the Nigerian society where everyone talks about government has to do this, government has to do this, do you think there's something wrong with that notion? Even though we know it's the responsibility of government to fix a lot of things, but an average Nigerian, even when it comes to the issue of jobs, government should provide enabling environment for jobs. But there are people who going into school and coming out, they are waiting to go and get jobs instead of creating jobs.
Yeah. No, I've heard a lot said about entrepreneurship, about how our university graduates should be trained on how to start their businesses. That's balderdash.
All right.
And I'm serious. All the countries that have made it in the world, they've made it because those who govern society provide the framework for businesses to thrive. They provide, I don't want to use the cliche enabling environment, but they just provide the framework. Those who are saying that Nigeria will survive and Nigerians will survive on the basis of this entrepreneurship skill they're talking about, you know, all the trainings going all over the place. Is that what's going to ensure that Nigeria is able to manufacture its own vehicles, build its own aircraft, you know, and have its day in the sun?
Yeah, but those who are saying that, don't you think what they mean is that, you know, our educational system does not, you know, target peculiar environment in such a way that the education that you get in the four walls of a classroom will translate in what you are able to, you know, bring to the table in the real world.
I beg to differ. This argument is a World Bank, IMF dictated argument. Some of the things that we just bandy around here, poverty alleviation, this one, they are things they just tell us to do and then we start doing it. I'm saying that if you continue to train our graduates on how to be entrepreneur, how to provide social services, how to make ends meet and all that, I'm saying that that will not solve the bigger problems that can ensure that our economy survive. For example,
what do you think can solve the
problem? Let me just give you an example.
Yes,
Nigerians go to the university to learn engineering, right? Civil engineering and all sorts of engineering. Many of them are out there, they can't get jobs. You go to our roads, you then see foreigners in our country, and some of them are even yellow racists now. You know, Chinese taking over everywhere, while Nigerians are left alone. If you go to the road, you see Nigerians doing all the basic works and all that. You just have one white person or one yellow person, you know, with the helmet supervising them.
What's who
is responsible for that? Indeed, some businesses, I'm telling you, some businesses will go get expatriates in Nigeria just to give the dubious impression that they have the technical competence to do those jobs, because they know that some Nigerian political elites who are governing us will be looking at the color. They don't believe in Nigerians. What I'm saying is that if you keep training people on how to be entrepreneurs, how to get 1,000, 10,000, 50,000 to start businesses, this will not deliver us. You know, we won't be in the big league. We'll just be providing services, trading, consuming, and all that. That's all we're going to do. So that will not ensure, for example, if you give some people money how to be entrepreneurs, so they are selling computer wares. So computer village in Lagos here is full. So how does that make them the makers of computers? That's the point I'm making.
All right. Would you then
not
subscribe
contrary to what they're saying?
Yes.
There's nothing fundamentally wrong with our educational system.
What is wrong then?
What is wrong is that, and that's what people are saying on the street. We've had leadership failures. We've had leadership
So
failure.
it's basically about the leadership.
Let's face it.
All right.
We've had this leadership failure. And I tell you this. Look, if the other time, you know, the British Prime Minister before May, you know, was leaving, and I can't forget this because it was so symbolic, was leaving number 10 Downing Street.
Yeah, David Cameron.
David Cameron. And television showed him, and he and his wife and his family were packing their things and loading this inside
their own
car.
vehicle.
But here, government is so large and governance is so tiny. You see them on the road with 50 cars and all that. These cars they didn't even make. These are Japanese products. We are too ostentatious. We spend money that we do not, the money that should be in the public to help the people. Just this year, I was a little bit encouraged when, the breakdown of the budget was being delivered. And I realized that, yes, this government was saying that, and I'm talking about the federal government, that they were going to make, create about 8 radiotherapy and chemotherapy centers in the country.
Yeah.
And this
and 6
is a big
ICT,
issue every
ICT
year
zones,
because the world is
zones.
saying we should be doing that. Cancer is a problem. Cancer awareness program. Cancer awareness program. Do you know that in the whole of Lagos State, for example, you have a minimal intervention in terms of treatment being led by a private hospital in Lagos. And I'm not going to mention it. You know, cobalt machine for radiotherapy. Yeah. So people who have cancer are dead. They can't buy these things without an intervention of government. So those who are saying that government, it's not that they are labor, it's not that they are useless. It's not that they don't know what they are doing. It's not that they don't have initiative on their own. They are just looking for freebies from government. No, there are certain things that you can do. All of us cannot create schools. Yeah. All of us cannot create hospitals. These are social services. But when you then have a notion that says the private sector must lead it. So those who get sick, those who have kidney problem, who have cancer problem,
who takes care of them?
Nigerians go to India every year to go and die.
Nigerians spend about $1 billion every year on
medical tourism.
And India is a huge beneficiary of that too. So where do we go from here? What issues really should drive 2019 discourse? It's an election year, number one. I mean, in another, how many days, 45 days or so from now, Nigerians will be going to the polls to decide who should lead them. And then in the midst of all of this, you have the minimum wage crisis that's there. Labour is threatening to go on strike come January 8th. ASU is on strike, ASOP is on strike. Everyone seems to be on strike except the two of us.
No, he is not on strike.
He's not on strike. You're not on strike. Okay.
It's sad that we're having these strikes all over the place. And the demands being made by ASU and other people that are on strike, these demands are, albeit perennial, they are legitimate. They are legitimate demands. Look, when we talk about education, and I know that Nigerians appreciate that, we're not just talking about bread and butter issue, how university lecturers will get paid and so on and so forth. We're talking about tertiary education, for example, that has been abandoned by the government. Not by this government necessarily, no, by previous government. How? You had a situation whereby, right from 1999, we had a government that came in place and started talking about defunding the federal institutions, tertiary institutions, and that the private sector should lead. So we had an odd situation, therefore, where a president and his vice president gave themselves licenses to create universities. And they had those universities. Of course, the argument has been that, yes, it's because the government-owned universities, aren't doing enough. That's why you have this private university. That argument is dubious, and I'll tell you why. In the Second Republic, the Lobo state, governed by the UPN, Lagos or Ogun, Bendel was not broken into two then and owned those states. decided that because of their free education program, that ensured that they had more primary school leavers, secondary school leavers who would need tertiary education. And because they realized that the universities that were available then weren't sufficient, what did they do? They created their own state university. They are the first who led that revolution.
State University.
Lagos State University came, Ogun State University came, Ondo State University in Ado-Ekiti then came, Ambrose Ali University, who was Bende State University then also came. It was only Oyo State that didn't create a state university. And so the point I'm making is that even if the argument is taken that the spaces there are not sufficient, you go to all our federal universities, you know the land that they have.
Exactly.
So what are you doing with them? Provide more facilities, build more hostels, expand them. You don't create a university at the drop of the hat. Oxford will always be Oxford. Cambridge will always be Cambridge. And we can Google and see their student population. There's some universities that are over 100,000, 120,000, 900,000 students.
Looking at 2019, what are the issues that will be impacting on the way people act this year? And what are the issues people will be talking about? What are the issues that will determine how people are either going to vote or how people are going to respond or react, and all of that? Yeah. These are some of the issues we've been talking about. There are some of them that are carryover from 2018 to 2019. Others will be issues within 2019.
Yeah, and how will those issues, especially the carryovers from 2018, affect 2019? The issues of security, the minimum wage saga, of course, the strikes, in the education sector and all of that.
All right. We have with us a legal luminary in the studio, GT Ogunye, and we have been doing justice to understanding these issues right here. All right. Now, let me come to you. Don't forget that we'll be linking up with our correspondents across parts of the country to give us a feel of how people are, viewing the new year and going into the new year. They've talked much about optimism, and even GT Ogunye has talked about that too, being optimistic,
the need to be hopeful.
Yeah, hopeful going into the new year. All right. So, what issues do you feel will be shaping 2019 in Nigeria?
First, the very early in the year is the election that is coming up.
Okay.
Now, in 2019, this civil rule will be 20 years old by May next year. And 20 years in the life of a nation is not a short time, even in the life of a man. And I will explain to you why. 20 years out of our 58 years will mean that we only have 38. So we have 20 solid years of civil rule or democratic governance, if you accept that this is really democracy and not just civil rule. And so in these 20 years, we've not achieved very much. That's the truth. We've not achieved very much. And so as we come into an election year, people will be wondering whether with this upcoming election, whether, we are going to change course and things will really, really get better.
But what will it take for that course to actually change? I mean, you said earlier that the average Nigerian is more enlightened, is more discerning, that then you would expect that would actually help in guiding how the voter, casts his ballot when the election comes.
The average Nigerian is more enlightened than before, but unfortunately, most often, Nigerians are given option choice. They are given the option of the devil and the deep blue sea. It need not be so, but it's likely has been so for a long time. Unfortunately, many Nigerians who have taken it upon themselves to come forward to say they want to go into the public space to provide leadership, in my view, are not getting it right. And I just hope that after the 2019 election is done and dusted, after a winner will have emerged, there will be sobriety amongst these people. And this is very, very critical for me. Now we're going to election, And the two major parties that are there are the parties that people are talking about, are reckoning with. You know, if you ask every Nigerian whether you're going to have a winner in the presidential election outside the PDP or APC, they will just look at you and say, like, is something wrong with you? You know, so the challenge therefore is for people of like minds, and there's so many, you know, brilliant, bright ideas, we need not mention their names, to come together and work together. You can have a broad pan-Nigerian party that can have, you know, that can have trends or tendencies and all that. The Conservative Party in the UK, they have wings, they have factions. The Labour Party also, you know, Democratic Party, you have the left of the party, you have the center of the party in the US, and you have the right of the party. So you can have all those, but, you know, when you then have a chest beating of few people thinking that they are going to, you're not going to do it. In the First Republic, there were political parties, there was the Action Group, there was the MPC, there was the NCNC. Those are the three parties. In the North, NEPU was strong, led by Aminu Kano, non-element progressive union, but it wasn't able to take power from the MPC. And so in 1964, when the MPC-NCC coalition was floundering, all the other opposition parties thought it wise to form what they call UPGA then, United Progressive Grand Alliance. They didn't win the election, but they gave the government in power a run for its money. So much so that after the 1964 election, the president of the country then, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, had to hesitate before inviting the prime minister to come and form the government. In the Second Republic, you know, in 1983, you already had a PPA, Progressive Parties Alliance, UPN, MPP, all of them coming together to fight the MPN. And significantly, in 2015, APC emerged from all the political parties. So if you're going to take out this behemoth, you've got to be serious. But they won't know now until the election is done. It's over. That's why I said I hope that time there'll be sobriety, and then reality will dawn on everybody. And then we can call ourselves together and say, you know, another 4 years, 2023 is there. So what strategy? So that we can give the people a real option.
And a real alternative. Okay. Let's get into speaking with other people now. Kolo Midala, it's the first day of the new year, and he's there, our correspondent in Borno State, to give us a feel of what people are hoping for in the 2019 year. Kolomi, good morning. It's good to have you join us right now. Can you give us a feel of what people are saying? It's a dawn of a new year and a dawn of a new day in Borno State. Talk to us.
Well, people here are not too keen about the new year, but they just hope that security is being improved, because as I'm talking to you now, people are just in a sober mood, because too many of these IDPs that used to be here with us were returned to their communities of Paga, and they're actually coming in their numbers from that particular end. What is worrisome though now is that they are trapped in a town called Monguno. Monguno seems to be the safest area so far now, where the military is so much there. And they cannot move anything further than that particular area, other than to come down to Medjugorje, which they feel is the safest place they can be, because they've been here before. They were IDPs, and they were returned to that particular community of Baga and its neighboring community. So people expect the new year to see the government providing more security, more infrastructure for them to actually pick up their lives, because since 2009. So it's a long period, and most of these little kids, these individuals now, were born in the IDP camps. They are about 6, 7 years old. No meaningful education, no meaningful kind of emotional attention from their parents. The parents they are orphans. Some of these women are widows. If you see individuals, they just brought in because they are used to that particular survival strategy. They just carry their mats, they are cooking pot, one each, because they don't want to carry anything heavy, and maybe a kettle. You can see they are using mosquito net actually from it's cold here now, because it's Ramadan season, and these people I just feel they are in a terrible state.
Yeah, Kolomi Dala, you paint a very dismal picture there. Of course, in the papers this morning, some fleeing residents actually confirmed that right there in Bagada, they've had to trek for 2 days without food. What's the level of government intervention to bring succor to these people, especially as the new year begins? Are you seeing any kind of help coming from the side of government?
That is what I would have expected, because when NEMA, the National Emergency Body that was to take charge of this one, the state emergency body, they are overstretched. Because what you see here are the ones that are not having any attention. But so many of them are told now they are in the IDP camp. They've been returned back to the IDP camp where they were before. That is in the teachers' village. So about 2,000 or more of them are already settled there. But these other ones that couldn't get a kind of means of transportation to actually come in from Munguno have to trek that distance, and they expect the government to actually intervene anytime soon. So we are hoping maybe by today, I'm going back to them this morning to find out if anything has been done for them. These actually are people that came in yesterday, and I'm told now, I just spoke to somebody that they are still coming in this morning.
All right, Kolomi, there has been so much emphasis on what the federal government is doing. We have the state governments and even the local governments who are closest to the people. And when it comes to working for those people, the resources are theirs in the first place. What has the state government and even local governments, what are their roles in meeting the first needs of these people before the federal government comes in?
That is a very interesting question. Because yesterday, the state governor, Kashim Shettima, just rushed in and had a kind of stakeholders emergency security meeting, whereby he invited the military, invited the traditional rulers, invited hunters, invited everybody that's involved in this fight against it, because he feels a lot more has to be done. He has been doing his best. Even before, in 2015, when nothing was doing to him, he was using the government resources to actually feed these IDPs. He was in charge before this government of Muhammad Buhari assisted him by providing more of the feeding, and he was to pay to actually look after the condiments. And all along the government has been about that decline. Immediately this new NEMA boss was installed. The NEMA activity seems to be have declined drastically. We no more see the NEMA we used to see before. Because as of now, as I'm talking to you, if it were in 2015 when the government just came into power, you see NEMA officials and their bosses and ambulances and doctors already attending to these people. They've been there now for over 3 days, and nothing has come to them. Can see how they are. They are just left in the open. So we just hope from that security meeting they had yesterday with the governor, maybe by today, something will come up.
All right, Kolomi Dala, a man there in Borno State, painting a picture, a very troubling one at that, as far as, you know, the situation with the residents there in Baga is concerned. They've been at the receiving end of attacks, constant attacks, you know, by insurgents. GT Ogunye is a guest, still very much with us here as a legal practitioner. You heard what Kolomi Dala said there about, you know, the situation in Borno. Of course, you could say the same for Zamfara and all the other, you know, parts of Northeast. So the issue of security definitely is a major one I mean, it was major in 2018 from the very first day of the year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Security the issue of security is very key. Unfortunately, although we're talking about a war now, a 9-year-old war, you know, in the Northeast, you know, I don't want us to be using the word insurgency. It's a full-blown war. More vicious in some sense, and I'm not, you know, I hope I'm not going to injure sensibilities. More vicious in some sense than the Civil War. The Civil War was horrendous. It was very terrible. There was pogrom. There was famine and all that. But this war is an asymmetric war that we haven't seen in this part of the world before. You know, before now, we used to think that suicide bombing and all that was limited to the Palestinians fight and, you know, certain part of the world and all that, until it just started happening here as if it was, you know, original to Nigeria and all that. And the war has become very protracted. You know, from technical defeat, we're now having a kind of capture of a city, and then thereafter, you know, they've been flushed out, bombings and all that. And even in Zamfara, there are bombings, you know, meaning that that internal security task had gone beyond what the police could manage. So you had to involve not only soldiers, but the Air Force, to bomb, you know. So it's really, really very scary. And I tell you that although we're discussing all those things, all over our country, insecurity continues to confront us. Not because foreigners, you know, usually generate advisories to their people not to travel, but because we know that the parts of the country now, there are no-go areas in terms of kidnapping.
Of course, there's a plan now
everywhere
by the federal government to, you know, bring the Operation Python dance, and this will be all across the country.
Our country. Yeah. So that even when you are ensconced in Lagos here, and you think that you're safe, those who are going to the Apapa, Badagry will tell you that because of the terrible road there, in the evening, at dusk, every time, they erupt in traffic in this Lagos. So insecurity is a big issue. And I think that as we move into 2019, politicians will not just concentrate on how they have to return to office, they will also concentrate on the issue of insecurity. I mean, the chief of defense staff of the country has just been gunned down, you know, in a very terrible manner. Yes. So if, you know, that kind of thing could happen to somebody like that, then what will happen to the ordinary people?
Other citizens.
A chief of defense staff, for example, who usually will have a former chief of defense staff, who usually will have, even as a retired, you know, military officer, soldiers guiding up to 4, 5, sometimes for some of them. So if that kind of thing will happen, you know, it only shows that insecurity is very dire in the country now.
All right, legal luminary, G.T. Ogunye, thank you so much for giving us insight into what we should look into 2019. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And